going on, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? How's it going, sports fans? My name is Mike Jimenez, and that is Joe Garcia, and this is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from the west side of San Antonio, West Bexar County, also represented because that's where I live. We're going to have a good show today. It's going to be an exciting show, more exciting than yesterday's eclipse, which for a lot of people was kind of a dud. Joe Garcia, how are you feeling, my man, today?
Still not at 100. I mean, what I've been dealing with is severe, pain in my shoulder. I can't, really move. I'm not really mobile. Mm-hmm. Doctor gave me a week off of work, told me that I just got to relax, take the medication and everything, and hopefully the swelling will go down and I'll be able to have my mobility back. But, man, this back pain is no joke, dude.
Dude, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. That is awful to hear, but we're back up and running today. I know this morning you were like, I'm going to give it the old college try, so yep. I'm glad that you're here. And speaking of college tries, man, last night UConn crowned national champion yet again, back-to-back years, a sixth time in that school's history. Caitlin Clark, she didn't get the crown, man. She didn't get the chip. Angel Reese got a chip. Caitlin Clark does not. We'll get into that as well. It is Tuesday. We know what that means. It is Tuesdays with Teague. Carolina Teague will be with us in about 5 minutes or so to go over lots of things that are going on in the sports world and also in entertainment news as well. Morgan Wallen, country superstar, he's in trouble, dude. He got arrested over the weekend. Gave a really stupid mugshot along the way. So we'll get into Morgan Wallen's troubles as well. The baddie brackets, we're down to 8.
The final 8.
2 number 1 seeds got knocked off over the weekend in our baddie brackets. 2 of them.
Wow.
Trish Stratus and Tiffany Amber Thiessen, both out. And now we're down to 8. And what's so funny is that I think you're right, Joe. Our listeners have a type.
I told you, man.
But there's one that's still around that is unlike the others.
Dua Lipa.
Yeah. Dua Lipa is not like the Latinas or not like the blondies. Yeah. She just survived in advance.
She got her own unique look.
She is surviving and advancing. If you want to be part of the show, again, we're live on Facebook, live on Twitter. We're also live on YouTube. On YouTube, we're 844 subscribers strong. Picked up 4 more subscribers over the weekend. 156 away from hitting 1,000. And then we party.
Yeah.
And then we party. The thing about the eclipse, man. So yesterday, what were you doing, Joe, when you were doing the eclipse?
I was just relaxing, and then my brother-in-law, he happened to be in the area, so he came by, and he's like, you want to watch the eclipse? I'm like, sure. Why not? I ain't got nothing else to do, Mm-hmm. So we went outside, put on the sunglasses, the solar glasses, eclipse glasses.
Right.
Look at the sky. I'm telling you, you ain't going to see shit, dude. It's nothing but clouds.
Nothing but clouds.
We got the darkness, for about, almost 2 minutes. That was cool.
So I was up in Northwest Bexar County. My sister had a breakfast gathering, so we had a bunch of family members show up, and we had the tamales and the potatoes and the eggs and bacon and sausage and all that stuff. And it's funny because we were all working that day, so everyone fired up their laptop. All of us who work from home or have the ability to work from home. So we were doing that, and we decided to go to a neighborhood that was about a mile over. And it was an undeveloped neighborhood, so they just plowed down the trees and whatnot. They were going to be building houses there. And a lot of people kind of showed up there. This is this big old field just outside of SeaWorld. And the clouds would break from time to time, and you could see what was going on. Didn't need the glasses because of all the clouds. But just the excitement of seeing the clouds break, even for 15 or 20 seconds, was pretty cool. And then it got dark. And when it got dark, probably about 4 minutes, the lights came on, the street lights came on, and that was pretty cool. Now, CNN yesterday had a very good story. It was Ed Lavandera from CNN. He did a story about how the animals were going to react to this at the Dallas Zoo.
Yeah.
It was a great story idea because he was talking about the fact that the animals were confused, that they were, they watched out for predators. They were kind of confused. They were hovering over their eggs when they normally don't do that.
Yeah.
They got confused for 3 or 4 minutes, and then things kind of got back to normal, and they went on with their day. But that got me thinking about my dogs because my dogs were outside at the time. What were they thinking when the lights went out? But
time to dig a hole under the fence. It's dark.
Yes. It was a fun time though, and it was funny because we got to. It was an excuse for families to get together. Apparently, there's going to be another one in about 20 years or so. So by then, I'll be in my 60s. But it was good times, man. It was good times. Again, we're going to have Carolina Teague on in a moment for Tuesdays with Teague. A lot of people reached out to me over the weekend about Roadhouse.
Oh, God.
And people are agreeing with me. I don't know how Rotten Tomatoes has Roadhouse with 59% of critics and people saying that they enjoyed that movie. That was a bad movie. But now when it comes to streaming, I need something new to watch, man. I finished season 8 of Royal Pains. It ended kind of, But all shows are like that, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, they're kind of like that. I need a new show. So if you guys have any recommendations for me, leave me a comment or two on the YouTube stream, and maybe I'll check out the show. What time is CT going to be on?
She should be coming out already. I already sent a message to her. I'm looking to see if she's going to pop in here. So
okay,
she might be on a call or something at work.
So last night was the national championship game between between UConn and Purdue. The other blue blood, UConn. UConn goes on to win that game yesterday. I was excited about one particular player in yesterday's game, and no, it wasn't Zack Edie, dude. Zack Edie going off for 37 points and 10 rebounds. I don't care, okay? UConn goes on to win 75-60. UConn finished the season 37-3. And the thing about UConn, they looked the part, man. They covered the spread all 6 games of the NCAA tournament. They destroyed every team in front of them. And at no point in that game did I believe that Purdue was going to win. Purdue could knock down a 3 to save their lives yesterday, man. It was all about Zack Edie inside. Zack Edie was pissing me off, man. He had 37 points but should have had 60. Why is he dribbling the ball so much? He catches the ball down low, go up. Instead, he dribbles the ball 2 or 3 times. And I watch Zack Edie, and I'm thinking to myself, how could he be so dominant in college basketball? And it'd be so obvious that you're going to be a scrub in the NBA. So it was bizarre, man. I mean, he's a big dude, 15 for 25 yesterday, had a couple of blocks, but he's just so slow. He's a different type of 7'4". Think about that. He's the same height as Victor Wembanyama, but they are 2 completely different people.
He's just, I think he's 90 pounds heavier than Victor.
Yeah.
You know? So he's not very mobile, doesn't have the same handles, the athleticism. He's an era of the bygone era from NBA, where you had those big, lunky centers, that really weren't mobile. They were just there for power in the paint, and that's basically all he can offer. But credit to UConn, because UConn, they shut everybody else down around him. So they said, you can have yours, but your team, we're not letting them get involved.
That's kind of what South Carolina did to Caitlin Clark in the women's championship. But Zack Edie yesterday. You see a 7'4" guy that was born in the wrong decade.
Yeah, dude.
This guy in the 80s or 90s would have had a long NBA
Early
career.
2000s, maybe.
Maybe. I see the comparison to Andre Drummond, right?
Yeah.
Just a guy that's going to get you 10 or 15 minutes, going to get you a few boards, but is not going to stretch the court, not going to be able to guard multiple positions. He is just a slow dude, but you can't teach height. Somebody's going to draft him. You can't,
I like this.
You can't teach 7'4".
Look at this comment from D'Lo.
He's like Boban. Maybe get 15 minutes a night. Could be solid in that time. That's it. A change of pace kind of guy. Maybe somebody at the end of a quarter or the end of a game, you're trying to get a defensive presence to kind of clog the lane. Someone to guard the inbound thrower.
We need 3 fouls out of you, brother. Go out there.
Yeah, go do something. So I'm watching the mock drafts, and the mock drafts have Zack Edie going somewhere between 15 and 45.
Wow.
Beauty is definitely in the eye of the beholder when it comes to this draft, but I just look at this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, the only reason why he's so good in college is because there's nobody remotely his size in the college game.
Alamo City Sportscast joined.
Ooh, we have somebody join.
CT now.
So. Carolina Teague is in the house. CT, how you doing, girl?
Good.
You looking good today? Happy. It's always fun to have you on Tuesdays with Teague. We were getting into the eclipse and everything going on in the national championship yesterday. How did you enjoy the eclipse yesterday?
I didn't see anything. I have an echo.
Oh, hold on. I'll fix that.
Okay.
There, that should be better.
There
now.
you go.
Yes. Do y'all hear me?
I
Perfect.
did. Yes.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
so you didn't see anything. You didn't go outside, or you just stayed indoors.
I did go outside. It got really dark. It was really eerie. I felt like the birds stopped chirping. Everything got really quiet. All the traffic stopped. So there was that moment where it felt really weird. But I didn't get to see anything. I think the west side got the best view of that eclipse. On the northeast side, it was like we couldn't see anything. It was all clouds.
Super dark. Yeah, the clouds would part every once in a while for about 15, 20, 30 seconds. We'd all get excited, then another cloud would come up and they would part again. So back and forth. So you're already getting love already right now on the YouTube stream. Everyone loving Carolina Teague. But I got to see you over the weekend because we were at the Mike Taylor barbecue cook-off. Joe was also with us out there. We were doing the judging of food, and I judged the chicken portion, and I had 10 pieces of chicken, about an ounce and a half, 2 ounces each, and then had to go into the playoff, if you will, of the top 8 because there was 20 entrants for chicken. There was 10 and 10 being judged. The top 4 from each table moved on to the finals. And by the time I was done, man, I was stuffed. And then I walked the fairgrounds over there at the Salvation Army. Again, the Mike Taylor barbecue cook-off benefited the Salvation Army's Boys and Girls Club. As I was walking around, people were like, "Hey, you want some brisket? You want some stew? Yeah. You want this and the other?" And by the time I was done, I was just I need a wheelbarrow to get me out of there.
I told you you're gonna get the meat sweats.
That's what I had. That's what I had. Now, Carolina Teague, though, was judging the pork, and it came with like rolls and everything. You had sides. I had just chicken. What was it like being a judge on your end?
Yeah, because Brad had asked me, like, what do you want to judge? And I had judged chicken one year, and chicken is a really tough meat to cook because it can come out really, really dry, and it's really hard to get a chicken as juicy and tender. So I wanted to judge like pork, specialty beef. Those were the categories I picked. I ended up in pork. So good. Like I ate some delicious pork, and I don't really be eating pork like that because it takes 4 days to leave your system. Don't ask me how I know that, but it was really, really, really good. The sliders were my favorite, but there was another pork that was just so juicy and tender. And I did the second round judging, and I was stuffed, like super stuffed. It was bad. It was bad.
I thought it was going to be like a little bit of food, but it was a lot.
A lot.
One. And what I was doing with the chicken, I was separating the chicken from all the other stuff, okay? Because I wanted to taste the chicken, not necessarily the bacon wrapped portion of it all, not the jalapeno stuffed, not the lemon peppery. So I would take one bite of it the way that it was prepared, and then I would take a second bite, taking all that other stuff and just having the chicken. You know, like, because if it was a lot of sauce, I was like, what are you trying to hide, man? What are you trying to hide with all that sauce? If it was a lot of butter, what are you trying to hide? Yeah. So I was trying to figure it all out. But there were about 4 of those entrants that, my God, you would just take one bite, you just fell in love. But again, big props to Mike Taylor and the I think this was the 6th annual barbecue cook-off that he had. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. It was cloudy the first couple of hours, but then the sun broke out, and it was a nice event. The Paleta man going up and down. Got to meet a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long time. I saw Chuck McIntyre, who, by the way,
I miss him.
I cornered him and I said, Chuck, we talk about you all the time because you coined the phrase nugget back in the day. Got to see Ernie Zuniga. Got to meet Erin Carreno for the first time ever. She and I go back and forth on social media, and it was like we were fast friends. It's like I had known her for a long, long time. Sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart.
Dude, I love Erin. She's absolutely crushing it with the UFL Brahmas for Bally Sports. She's doing a fantastic job. Like, she is crushing it in the San Antonio sports industry.
She's legit, man. She's so funny. And she obviously she pays attention to this podcast because she was talking about certain things that we've discussed on this show. So like, Erin is a subscriber. She follows the show. Got to meet the Bean and Cheeseman girls. I mean, I've known Nina, but Nina Duran. So got to meet her. Got to know her a little bit better. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool seeing everybody. Mariah Medina from News 4 San Antonio was out there. And so I was very proud to be a judge. I don't know how much money they raised, but obviously it was a lot, and we donated some. we had a VIP winner.
Oh, nice.
So,
I remember
so
that.
we gave away, and he reached out to me when we were there. Got him the T-shirt, got him the plate, and all that stuff. It was funny on the way out the door. They were like, "Would you like a chicken plate?" And I was like, "No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've had enough chicken to last me for the next 3 months or so."
Exactly. Like, don't forget to get your barbecue plate. I'm like, I'm good, man.
So real quick, there is something that I want to get off my chest really quickly. So I had a great time at the barbecue. It was awesome. Mike Taylor's so nice and Nina's so nice. But there was a situation that occurred with Steph from here at the Alamo City Sportscast. She's a producer for the show. And when I, went up to her and approached her, I did feel like she was very rude to me and she just didn't like me off the top. And I'm not here to start drama. I'm just here to address some things because she did go to Twitter and she did.
Needed? Is this really needed though?
No, it's not. I just want to say something really quickly.
Okay.
I just want to say she did disrespect me on Twitter. So I have a right to speak up for myself. I do not have any bad blood with anybody. I, as a woman in sports, I support everybody in San Antonio. And she did tweet out today that, I'm a fan of hers and I'm pressed and I'm bothered. And I do want to say, I do think it's a bit embarrassing for her as a producer of the Alamo City Sportscast to be dragging somebody else who comes on Tuesdays with Teague. And I don't have a problem with her. I never did. And as you all know, I always support women in sports, especially women who are just getting started. So
we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this out because we don't need to belabor the point. And I know you try to defend yourself and all that, but it's a very precarious situation that we get in because now I'm getting caught in the middle of all that.
Yeah, we don't want to.
I don't want y'all in the middle. I'm just making it very clear that I like to say that I'm a fan. That's true. I am a fan of yours. I'm a fan of anybody who wants to be a woman in sports. But in the same breath, you also have to admit you're a fan of me as well. So I know that for a fact.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned being a fan, and how sometimes that doesn't go very well. We have a comment from D-Lo earlier in the show that I wanted to get to right now. And it was about the WNBA stars who are going after Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark, South Carolina, they lost over the weekend. So D-Lo reached out and says, "What do y'all think about the hate Caitlin Clark is receiving from WNBA players? I think they're jealous that she's bringing attention rather than the attention going to themselves." We saw South Carolina go out and have the undefeated season. And it wasn't even, I mean, you watch the game and I think to myself, wow, one team is so much better than the other. Iowa is the darling. Iowa lost back-to-back national championship games. They lost to LSU last year, losing to South Carolina this year. So you have Caitlin Clark exit her college career as the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball, but doesn't have a chip, doesn't have a ring. Okay, so first of all, what are your thoughts of Caitlin Clark not getting that chip? And what are your thoughts of the WNBA players who seem to be attacking her these days?
So I really think that it's going to make her stronger, kind of like a Becky Hammon situation. She really wasn't the biggest person or the strongest person, and she didn't really that motivated her to do better. So I think she's just going to channel that energy because she seems like a true competitor and a true champion. She's going to channel that energy into the WNBA. And as far as the hate that she's getting is concerned, and like I said, it doesn't surprise me. You're always going to have haters when you're awesome. You're always going to have haters when you're great, especially women. Sometimes it seems like, people just want to tear you down. But I think that Caitlin Clark just needs to rise above that and just continue to be the person that she is and not let any of these haters let you crash out. Period.
So Caitlin Clark had 30 points, right? But most of it was in the first half. And they realized down the stretch that, you know what, we need to get a little bit more aggressive with her. Bree Hall was tasked at going after her and just trying to bring the defense going. You also had players like Raven Johnson who were going out there and just basically denying her the ball or making her a passer. And one of the cool things about it is that, one of these South Carolina players was kind of disrespected by Caitlin Clark last year. I don't know if you saw that game last year in the semifinals where Caitlin Clark refused to guard her player because she was like, that girl can't shoot, and was waving her off. I don't know if you remember that. She was giving her 15 feet to shoot the ball. She was in the middle of the lane. her opponent is at the 3-point line, holding onto the ball, and Caitlin Clark, who everyone thinks doesn't talk crap, but is a big trash talker, was doing this. Like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead and shoot. And Iowa won that game. What happened this time around? That same player that she disrespected shut her ass down in the third and fourth quarter, which was remarkable. South Carolina going on and winning the national championship and also getting lots of ratings, man. This Iowa-South Carolina game drew massive ratings. The Iowa game against LSU drew massive ratings as well. It was so much fun to watch. And you take a look at some of these players, and I understand the animosity that sometimes you get from these WNBA players because they're old school. You know, they see the names like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie. They see even players, you know, most recently that are still in the WNBA that played for UConn or played for or whomever, Tennessee, Texas. And they look at it and they go, well, those are the all-time greats. How can Caitlin Clark, who never won a championship, be considered an all-time great? But the thing is that there's a difference between being good and great. There's a difference between being the greatest and being the GOAT, okay? Because, as I always said, Tom Brady is the GOAT, but the greatest quarterback of all time, or the best quarterback of all time, is actually Patrick Mahomes. So that being said, I take a look at some of these players. They get peeved because it's kind of like, we say that we want the attention, but when we finally get the attention, it's directed at somebody that is younger than us, newer than us, not as decorated as us, just has a bunch of stats.
Mm-hmm. These are the moments where I really wish that Gigi Bryant was still here with us, because I feel like this is the beginning of something great for the WNBA and basketball. And the numbers don't lie. I mean, yes, the attention is now on Caitlin Clark because she is a generational talent, but you also see somebody like Angel Reese, that rivalry. When you look at rivalries and you look at Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, there'd be no Cody Rhodes without a Roman Reigns. There's no Batman without the Joker. There's no Caitlin Clark without Angel Reese. Those rivalries also fuel into the ratings too. Mm-hmm. So the fact that now the attention is on the WNBA is a great thing, because the WNBA, they've always talked about how when they get pregnant, they have contractual issues. When they have to take flights, they are not treated the way that the men are in the NBA. Now the numbers are there with the NCAA tournament to back up, finally being able to financially back the WNBA players. And people have always said it's because they don't have the same ratings, they don't have the same viewers. This is actually a great thing, because now hopefully more people tune into the WNBA and they start the NBA and everybody who's behind them, the people who, the sponsors, all that stuff, they get behind the WNBA too. So now these women can be paid fairly, and men lie, women lie, numbers don't. If the numbers are there, and this is one of the biggest championship games we've ever seen, I want that to carry over to the WNBA, because then that just means more money is going to be going to these women, and that's what they've been struggling with for a long time. So to look at it as a bad thing, or be upset about it, or be dismissive and make it a hateful thing, it could be some type of underlying animosity that these women may have, because they're maybe on their way out of the WNBA and might not be able to financially benefit like these upcoming women are. But they should be happy for her. They didn't make the money that she's going to bring in, because it's beyond Caitlin Clark. It's beyond Angel Reese. When Paige Beckers gets out there, that's going to be another big name. And then you add that to the already, the Kelsey Plums of the world that are already popular in the WNBA. We're now finally seeing that transition of popularity. I have a bunch of guy friends who have come out to me going, dude, I want to watch this game and this game. And they weren't talking about Purdue and UConn. They were talking about South Carolina, LSU, Iowa, the UConn women's team. Paige Beckers is going to be a star. And now, and you know what? I hate to say it this way, but Paige Beckers is also very attractive. Caitlin Clark is an attractive woman. Angel Reese is an attractive woman. And I know that shouldn't matter, but it does. And I hate to say it. I mean, you have a podcast called A League of Her Own. Remember the movie A League of Her Own? They didn't want to have that girl because they were like, Marla, great hitter, but they didn't want to bring her on.
But you saw South Carolina go out there, and then other names out there. Camila Cardozo, who's going out there and just having 15 points and 17 boards. These girls can ball.
Oh, yeah.
And unlike the men's, they hate each other. And that's the drama of it. I hate the NBA sometimes because they all grew up in the AAU circuit. They all love each other, and they don't have that competitive fire that we used to see with Bird and Magic. Dude, the day the NBA got stupid was the day that Kevin Durant went to the 73-win Warriors team. Instead of beating them, joining them. And that was the thing. So these women athletes are having a fantastic run right now. I think it's going to continue next year. You add them to an Angel Reese, you add a Caitlin Clark to the WNBA, it becomes a bigger deal. It becomes a bigger deal. That was a big deal last night because they crowned a national champion on the men's side. UConn 75-60 over Purdue. We were talking about Zack Edie and his slow ass. 7'4", 305 pounds. The guy is basically a tree down low. Come on, man. He can't be an NBA player. He's not going to be a star. He's going to be a player that might go off for 18 points one day. But he's, as somebody said on our podcast earlier on our stream, he has Boban vibes to him. Yay or nay?
I don't know. I would say yay, perhaps a little bit.
He can't shoot. He can't shoot. But I fell in love last night. Now, I've been following this guy for a while, but I fell in love last night. And you saw a lot of Spurs fans on Spurs Twitter reaching out about it. There's two players on UConn that are going to be drafted in the lottery. Okay, the first one that we're talking about is Donovan Clingan, who is a 7'2" center. He was battling up against Zack Edie. Clingan is I mean, he gives the vibes of Zach Collins. Okay, he's just basically a Zach Collins type of player, so I don't get excited by him. But Stephon Castle, give me more of that dude. Stephon Castle yesterday, 34 minutes played, 6 of 13 shooting, had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. I was watching Stephon Castle play yesterday, and I kept on thinking to myself, that guy right there is an NBA player. He is NBA ready.
Can I ask you a real honest question?
Yeah.
Do you think the WNBA, the women's NCAA was better than the men's NCAA?
By far.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I totally forgot the men's final was yesterday. I was like, wait a minute. Didn't they already have it on Sunday? And Christian was like, no, the men's is tonight. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot because the women's was so good.
It was.
Do you think that there will be the tide turning one day and maybe the women's is going to be more dominant as far as college basketball is concerned? Do you see that shift perhaps happening? Or do you think that because Caitlin Clark and them are leaving, it's going to die down a bit?
I think it's going to die down a bit, but I also think the fact that the betting is what drives the men's. Unless the women's game embraces betting, because that gambling is what drives March Madness. March Madness is about brackets. March Madness is about going to Vegas with your boys. March Madness is about hitting up the sports book, doing the online sports betting, stuff like that. Although you can bet on that on the women's side, it's just not as well known. Like, I'm not following the spreads on the women's game, so I think it's going to die down. But the broadcast, by the way, of the South Carolina game had an average 18.7 million viewers, and at one point peaked at 24 million viewers. When they announced the men's side today, I bet you it's half. I bet you it's half, which is amazing. But there's some sports out there where the women dominate more than the men. The women's U.S. women's national team in soccer is more exciting sometimes than the men's team. I would rather watch women's tennis than I would the men's. Okay, I mean, Djokovic is great, and Federer back in the day, and Nadal and all that stuff. But I remember the days of Serena Williams, and you had everybody from Martina Hingis back in the day to Monica Seles. It's always been more exciting on the women's side of the court, but it's going to die down at some point. But maybe the WNBA gets better, and maybe there's more attention to it. Like I said, I had a lot of friends, guy friends, who focus on basketball a lot, who are more excited about the women's side. But going back to the guys' side from last night, Stephon Castle, I'm watching him play last night, a 6'6" guard. He just turned 19 years old. The guy cannot shoot to save his life, okay? I know that. And I know that we have a power forward who can't do that, right? We have a power forward who can't shoot to save his life either. But I'm looking at Stephon Castle. I'm thinking to myself, if the Spurs have 2 first-round draft picks, right? The Spurs have their own.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a 54% chance of landing Toronto's pick somewhere between 7, 8, and 9. 46% chance of it being conveyed next year. If the Spurs use that 7, 8, or 9 pick on a Stephon Castle, a 6'6" lockdown guard, why did Purdue not make any threes last night? Why did Purdue not make any buckets? Why was it all about Zack Edie?
Mm-hmm.
It was because Stephon Castle shut everybody down.
So
he locked them down.
I was going to say, I'm reading an article right now on Bleacher Report, and they're saying that his pre-draft measurements are exactly like those of Keldon Johnson. This is literally in an article that I'm reading right now. And they said that his strengths are he can run the point with the size and length that Keldon has used at the 2, 3, and 4, even throughout his career. So it's interesting that you mentioned him alongside with the Spurs, because people are saying that, well, in these articles, these writers are saying that he's comparable to a Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, I see somebody a little bit different. I see another former Spur out there. I see Derek White. I see a shutdown guard, combo guard who you want to play him the point, play him the point. You want to play him at the 2, play him the 2. But he's going to lock down your guy. He is the one guy that I was seeing out there last night who was defending all 92 feet of the court. His guy would get the ball, the point guard. He was defending him underneath the other team's basket. Okay, and then he's going all the way on. He can finish at the rim. Tavares reaching out to us saying Bruce Bowen. You know what? If he develops a 3, but the thing about Bruce Bowen though, Tavares, is that Bruce Bowen couldn't make a layup ever. Bruce Bowen was more likely that Bruce Bowen was going to knock down a corner 3 than to actually make a layup. He wasn't going to make his own shot. Mm-hmm. Stephon Castle can actually run the break. He can find the right guy. He has a great high basketball IQ. I'm looking at somebody, if he can develop a 3-point shot, I'm looking at Derek White 2.0.
You know, I was going to say, do you feel like his height and weight differential is a factor too? Like, I feel like as far as size comparison is concerned, he's more like a Keldon size, but you're saying skill set, he's more of a Derek White.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's basically it. He is 6'6", and were you looking at the Bleacher Report? Is that the one that you were looking at?
Yes, that's the one I was looking at.
Player comparison. Yeah, I've seen various player comparisons about him that I find to be interesting. I've seen somebody call him Jalen Rose, and I heard that name in forever. But Stephon Castle is somebody that, according to the Ringer, it's kind of funny. Beauty in the eye of the beholder. The Ringer now has him listed as their number 1 prospect in the draft. And he's considered to be a high floor, not a high ceiling, a high floor, in the sense that he's going to be a good NBA player, but is he going to be a superstar player? Right now, the Ringer, as they updated after the tournament, they updated their big board, if you will. Number 1 by Kevin O'Connor, they have Stephon Castle of UConn. Number 2, they have Alex Sarr, the center from France. They have Donovan Klingen, sophomore from UConn. I'm not seeing that. Nikola Topic, the point guard from Serbia, at 4. Buzelis, the guard from the G League, Ignite at 5. Dalton Connect, Reed Shepard at 7. Rob Dillingham at 8. Cody Williams at 9. And Zachary Reese-Archet at 10. It's so funny because there's some drafts that have Zachary Reese-Archet going number 1 overall. So I can talk myself into so many different players, right? What I don't want to see is Brian Wright going out there and drafting the next Joshua Primo. Joshua Primo, because when he got drafted, what did all the Spurs fans say? Who the hell is this guy?
But yeah, I don't know.
Mock drafts had him going in the 2nd round or the very, very, very end of the 1st. So the Spurs took a reach at that guy. Now, Oklahoma City did say that they were going to get him at 16. Spurs got him at 12. But just don't do a reach, man. Just get me somebody good. I can talk myself into 12 players. You pick any of these 12 players, I'll be fine. Brian Wright. I'm going to give it a pass. Joined by Carolina Teague, of the queen of the Alamo City Sportscast, according to the title that we have here for you. We do our Tuesdays with Teague, and you didn't watch the men's national championship. What was wrong? You didn't even know. Oh, you did? Okay.
watch. I was just bored. I watched it and I was bored. I was like, get me through this right now. Like it was just not something I wanted to watch Monday Night Raw instead. But I was like, I know I got to talk about the championship. It was just, I guess maybe it was just maybe because UConn was so dominant is another reason why I was like not interested. And I think for me also storylines are also important too. I think that also factored into why I was like the women's was way more entertaining. But yeah, I did watch it last night.
Okay. People reaching out to us right now talking about the Spurs draft. Tim Gonzalez saying draft Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the number one overall pick next year. At least we know that in 2025 that there's a legit number one, that there's a tier one of players. People are talking about this draft being weak, and it is going to be weak, but it's weak in superstars. It doesn't mean that it's weak in like quality players. That's a different thing. You can get a quality player in this draft. It's just you're not going to have a Wemby. You know, there's no John Morant out there. Maybe there will be. I mean, I'll look at like SGA. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not tear it up his rookie season. He averaged like 11 points. But others are saying, hey, you know, Michael, you know, pump the brakes on Stephon Castle. We already have a player that can't shoot, and that's Sohan. Tavares saying, no more Jeremy Sohans on this team, please.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, well, they do need a shooter, though. And I was just talking about that last night. The Spurs definitely need a shooter. And there was a comment that somebody made that Ty Yeager had a poll yesterday saying, would you choose Keldon Johnson or Julian Champagny? So I want to ask you guys that. Who would y'all pick? Would y'all pick Keldon or would y'all pick Julian? Where are you guys?
I would go C, none of the above. Okay, let's talk about this real fast because I did see that poll. And I actually responded to that poll. First and foremost, Keldon Johnson, I love his motor. And if he's going to be a sixth man, seventh man, I'm fine with him being on this team. He's undersized. They call him big body, but he's actually undersized for what he's trying to do at small forward, right? So he's a small forward. He can shoot the three. I don't mind him being on the team. He's at a good price point. I would rather keep him. Julian Champagny is getting paid an NBA salary to get his Fitbit steps in. The guy does nothing. He brings nothing into this table, and I'm so upset and frustrated by him this year because coming into this year, I saw him balling out last year in March. He balled out in March. He got a gig with the Spurs this year, right? What did he do this year? Nothing for 4 months, and then he balled out in March. He's doing the exact same thing he did last year. And Champagny can't guard. He can't shoot. And you look at his percentages, it's like 36% from three, which is actually pretty decent. But I don't see it when he's out there. He doesn't look like an NBA player out there. So Champagny, there was a great comment being put out there. I think it was John Dyer from Spurs and Salsa says, dude, if Champagny is your starting small forward, your team sucks. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. So I'll go ahead and take Keldon Johnson over that other guy, Julian Champagny, who's getting paid to do cardio.
I would take Keldon Johnson. I hate that I have to choose, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Keldon. And I know I feel like he's been getting a lot of disrespect this year, but he doesn't deserve it. He's my personal favorite player, and he's a team player. So whether he has to come off the bench or be a starter, I would pick Keldon over Julian if I had to make a choice. But I do agree. The Spurs do need somebody who can shoot because Wemby is arguably defensive player of the year. And if they put the pieces around him, whether it's a veteran presence or somebody who's able to shoot effectively, I think that the Spurs will be in much better shape. And the only way to go from here, where they're at right now, is up. There's how many games left in the season? 3 or 4? We at 3 or we at 4?
I know it ends next week. I know it ends next week.
Yeah. So for me, now is the time. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future. And a lot of people are saying that Spurs might get rid of Keldon Johnson. I would hate to see him go, but it's going to be exciting to see how they move forward. So
Julian Champagny averaging 6 points per game right now. 6 points per game. Let's pump the brakes. I remember all those games. He's averaging 13 points per game the last week and a half, right? I remember all those games when he was getting 1 point, 0 points, 3 points, 3 points, no boards. Again, he was doing cardio for so long. We need to surround Wemby with shooters.
No.
We need to surround him with a better supporting cast. And I think that, this season, I had a lot of Spurs fans reach out to me. I say a lot, a handful. I've been out and about, and you meet people who recognize me from the show or whatnot. And they're very big into Pop we trust kind of guys, right? And they have all told me, and I didn't prompt them on this, that they're in Pop we trust for one more season. They are basically putting Pop in their minds on the clock when it comes to things, and I respect that. Okay, because Pop ran out his clock with me years ago, right? But I sense kind of like I'm sensing some things in sports right now. We're sensing that the women's basketball is getting more exciting on the college level, and it's gonna gravitate into the WNBA when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese go to the WNBA this summer. We're seeing a surge of Houston Texan fans, right? People who are like, maybe I want to adopt this team. We're seeing Cowboy fans check out mentally because they haven't done anything, right? And I think when it comes to the Spurs, there's two things that I see that I feel. One is even those who thought that Wemby might be a little bit overrated are coming around going, oh my God, this guy's the truth. He is him. It's going to be a top 3, top 5 player right away. And I'm sensing a crack in the dam in Pop We Trust group. The In Pop We Trust group is starting to buckle a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing to buckle. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in this? Because Matt was reaching out to me right now on our YouTube stream saying Mike will never miss a chance to slander Pop. I'm not slandering him. I didn't say anything about him. I'm saying that people
say what other people saying about him.
That's not funny. When we're at that Mike Taylor barbecue, some of the people, which will not be named, that were in the media,
were done with Pop too.
They were done with Pop too.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, okay, look, why are people so like? I'm not done with Pop, right? But why are people in the media afraid to say they are done with Pop? Why are they afraid that their truth is going to get them slandered? Is it going to get them random out the city? I feel like Jimenez, that's one of the things why I feel like you're so great at what you do is because people might not agree with the fact that you're saying that Pop should go, right? Not everybody agrees with that, but you're not afraid to speak your mind when it comes to that. And that's why when you go to these places like the barbecues or whatever, people will secretly tell you, yeah, I do kind of feel that way too.
Well, I think the thing about it is that I'm not media. I am not a media member now.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I do get a press pass, I don't put myself out as being media. Mm-hmm. I'm just a fan with a microphone. It's all that it is.
Yeah.
I know Rob Thompson at San Antonio Sports Star would always say that. People would always say, well, you guys are members of the media. And he goes, since when? I have that attitude as well. But when you have those who are daily at the press conferences, daily at the practices, daily at the whatever, it's difficult when it's a one horse town, when it's a one sheriff town with the Cowboys, the Spurs being the only professional team here. Not slandering Pop anymore. I think people realize what's there. I think people realize it, and I know like Spurs are playing better in March. They played better in March last year too. They did. I mean, just look at the past results. So I'm not excited about it. And this is not a slander of Pop, but I see more people coming out to me going, Michael, this is like on a every day, every other day basis. People just reaching out to me going, Michael, I've always been in Pop We Trust, right? I've always been that guy, always been that girl. But if it happens again one more year where we're 20-win team, 25, 30-win team, I think I am done with him. And I did not prompt that conversation.
They prompted it to you.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing though, like, and even though, like I said, I want Pop to leave when he wants to leave, I still have vocally said like any other coach would have been fired by now. So to say that it's slanderous to Pop that he should go, it's really not slanderous if you really think it through, because if this would have been any other coach, they would have been let go by now. But I do feel like Pop does have the legacy to back him up. So that's why I give Pop the grace, like you leave when you want to. But I can understand why people are saying those things.
Mike Ayala reaches out to us and says, Mike Ayala reaches out to us on our YouTube stream and says, quote, if people think Pop forgot how to coach, then turn in your sports card. Mike, my reaction to you is, where is Bill Belichick coaching right now? Bill Belichick, who has 6 rings, or in 6 Super Bowl rings. Where's he coaching?
Well,
would the Houston Texans want DeMeco Ryans or Bill Belichick? Just because you win the rings and are one of the GOATs doesn't mean that you forgot how to coach. What it means is that you might not be the right guy for the right time. The time might have passed you by. Sorry for interrupting, Carolina.
No, you're good. I wanted to say to you, Mike, let me ask you this, because this is a good topic, right? Do you feel like Pop is the problem for the Spurs as far as how he runs the game throughout those 48 minutes, or is the main issue the talent on the roster? What do you think it is? I know it could be a combination of both, right? But if you had to give leverage as far as, which side has more weight on who's more to blame, would you more blame the talent and the players on the team, or would you blame the organization and the coaching staff if you had to slice that pie in a different percentage?
Well, you're right. They're both a problem. Okay. But I keep in my head, thinking to myself, if Becky Hammond was coaching this team, they'd have more wins.
So my thing is, so you're leaning more towards the coaching is the primary.
It's not the coaching. It's not the coaching. It is. Okay, first of all, the oldest coach in NBA history was 71 years old. That was Hubie Brown.
Yeah, when he was coaching the Grizzlies.
Yeah, back in the day. Pop is 4 years older. When I see Pop out there coaching, I think of the presidential election between Biden and Trump. Neither one of those two guys should be president, next year. Neither one of them should. Because at some point, you're too old for the game. You're too old for the politics. You're too old for the game. And Pop holding on to power is so, it frustrates me. And I'm not going to go and I'm not slandering anybody. I'm just talking as like, your time in the sun has come. He had always said he was going to go out with the big 3. Well, all 3 of them are on the Hall of Fame. And you have to wait 5 years to get into the Hall of Fame. This is no different than when Biden said he would be a one-term president, and he's still running for president, right? So we're not trying to get into politics, but at some point, people need to stick to their word, and he didn't. He wanted to stay around.
Well, how do we know it's not him, and it's not him saying, I want to stick around, and it's not the front office saying, we want you to stick around, because
I was not his own man. He can't just retire.
Well, here's the thing that I've been noticing about Coach Pop. You're like, well, he's past his prime. He needs to go in this. But the thing is, Pop is doing a great job at helping develop these players, because what Coach Pop has done this season, even though people are going to see it as a lost season, he's been great at getting these players developed where they need to be. If you look at the beginning of the season to where they're at now, you can see that there's changes there for the better, even though the product on the court.
From who?
From a lot of the players out there. You're seeing them trending in the right direction, even though let's say the record doesn't, overall show that. The thing is he's trying to let these guys figure things out. You can't always bail them out. That's why he doesn't call timeouts sometimes in critical junctures of the game, because they need to figure these things out on their own. But I do see that the team is trending in the right direction. And I think what Coach Pop is doing is he's laying down that foundation to say, okay, this is the best that I can prepare these guys for success. Now the successor that's going to come in is going to take it from here.
I don't think the Spurs have improved.
I think they have from the beginning to now.
They are. This is the worst record in 51 years.
But they played better, though.
They played better in March of last year. They won 5 games in March last year.
But I'm saying from beginning of the season to now, they're playing better.
They did the same thing last year. I'm not going to discount all the crap that they played in October through February, because they played a little bit better in March. It doesn't mean anything. It's the end of the season.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but I'm just saying the players, they're playing better. They're playing more competitive against some of the better teams. It's just not translating into wins.
So they're saying, is it a Pop problem or a roster problem? He can only coach who's on the team. Are you telling me that Pop has no say in who the Spurs draft? I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that there's, separation, division of powers. I believe that it's all collective. And that's the problem. Vane's saying it's asinine that you tell that this team that you can't tell this team didn't improve, dude. When you go from losing 20 games in a row to winning 4 or 5 games, everything's going to seem like they've improved. Okay, that all happened this season. I'm not going to discount the fact that this is the worst team in a 51-year season, a 51-year franchise history.
The record says that.
The record says that. You are what your record is.
Yeah.
I can't discount the fact that this is 5 losing seasons in a row. I asked the question to somebody in the media the other day, and I asked them to try to look it up because I can't find it. I can't find how many coaches in NBA history have ever had 5 losing seasons in a row. And then also have the worst losing record in the team's history. And so
I think people are afraid to admit that you're accurate when you say that, because it is true. Now, the real question, right? And this is a great conversation. I like the back and forth, by the way, so keep it going. The question that I want to ask you both is, if not Pop, who should replace him? That's a big question too, because you don't want
anybody
even if that coach signs a 5-year contract, right? And they have Wemby and all the talent in the world, you want anybody to coach. And if they're not a good coach and they can't get them out of the Western Conference Finals, you would have a problem with them too.
You know what's going to happen here?
I do have favorites.
Coach.
I do have favorites. Becky would be my number 1 favorite, right?
Why?
Because I think she identifies with players. I think she's a smart mind because she played point guard back in the day. I think that Becky is a brilliant mind.
Okay.
Who would want to have that opportunity to be the first female head coach in NBA history.
Okay, but beyond that, if she comes in and let's say picks up the helm for Coach Pop here,
right?
You have the same roster. So all the flack that you're giving Coach Pop for, oh, Coach Pop can't coach. Oh, this team is horrible.
I didn't say he can't coach.
But I'm saying
he can't
if she comes in and she tries her best and the record's still indicative of, let's say, the talent that's on the team, is it Becky's fault or is it the roster's fault?
Well, it takes a while sometimes for a culture to switch.
Yeah, because she can't come in and say automatically she's going to make a big difference, or any other coach that coaches this team is going to have a dramatic turnaround and say, like, we're going to take you from 20 wins to 40 wins.
So we keep wasting Wemby's career?
I'm not saying you're wasting the career.
That's where we are right now. We're 5 losing seasons in a row.
He's had 1 rookie season right now, and I know a lot of people say it's a wasted season, but it's not. He's learned a lot, and he's grown as a player, and so have some of the surrounding cast. It's just the record doesn't indicate that. But if you're looking at what they're doing, they are getting better.
Trey Jones is not a starter in this league.
Well, we know that.
Jeremy Sohan is not a starter in this league. Julian Champagnie is not a starter in this league. Keldon Johnson is not a starter in this league. Zach Collins is not a starter in this league. So if somebody else was to come in, I'm not saying that another coach could have come in and brought this team to
from 20 to 40 wins.
20 to 40 wins. But what I'm saying is you probably would have gotten 30. I think Becky could have gone 30. But the question that is oftentimes there of, well, who's going to replace? You're never going to have a 5-time NBA champion coach come in and replace. Okay, it doesn't happen that way. Bill Belichick was not replaced by somebody who had won rings. Okay, Jimmy Johnson was not replaced by somebody who won rings, and in the NBA, Pat Riley was not replaced by somebody who won rings, and neither was Phil Jackson. You just go to a youth movement. And the youth movement is not only on the court, but it's also off the court. And it's just, it irks me right now. And I brought up the parallels to politics. When you have a bunch of people who are holding on to power, that have been senators and congressmen for 20, 30, 40 years, and that want to be president at age 80, that's both Trump and Biden. I am tired of seeing the boomers still trying to hold on to power. Pop said a long time ago he was leaving with Tim, and he lied, and it hasn't won since.
But how do you know it's him that wants to not leave, but he's not being asked to stay?
No one is going to. No one, if he wants to go off and say, you know what, I want to have an emeritus status, and I want to be able to just simply be a front office type and be a consultant for the team, they would do that for him in a heartbeat.
Okay,
but I'm not saying fire him. I'm not saying fire him. I'm saying give him a role within the team and organization that allows him to be vocal, that allows him to have be part of the Pop in the front office. I'm not saying kick his ass to the curb and take away his card key. I'm not saying that.
Take out Coach Pop, insert another coach, and the record still would have been the same.
So real quick, I just want to say, backing away from, like, I want to be realistic for a second. In order for the Spurs to get a championship team, yes, we do need both, and we acknowledge that. And Mike, you're right. Pop can take a step back, put somebody else at the helm, and see if they move forward. If we were to have Becky Hammond come on, and that's a big if because she's complacent with the WNBA. They just won 2 titles with the Aces. And people's rebuttal to that is she already came to a playoff type of team, and that's how she was able to get them across the finish line. But you also have to be a witty and smart coach to get them there. Let's just say Becky were to be the replacement for the Spurs, right? And Coach Pop takes a back seat. They also have to have that talent element come in as well. The Spurs need to draft or bring in somebody, perhaps via a trade or the free agency, like a Trae Young, like everybody wants. It's going to also help Wemby too. So I see both sides as far as talent and coaching is concerned. I don't think Pop should be fired, but I think there's like a misconception and people are misconstruing what Mike is saying. He's not necessarily just saying get rid of Pop completely. He's just saying let him take a back seat and assist the next up and coming coach that's there for the Spurs organization to help them lead them to a championship. And I don't think that's wrong to say that because that's his opinion. And I'm not going to say the ageism thing, I'm anti-ageism, but I do feel like whatever direction they go, Pop definitely has to be there because Pop can develop players. Everybody has respect for Coach Pop. He understands how to create a culture where it's all about the team. So I can see both sides. I just thought it was a great debate and like watching it go back and forth.
So people asking the question about like, well, who would you get? Who would you get? Steve Kerr did not have coaching history, and he became a champion as a head coach. Eric Spoelstra, who by the way was mentored by Pat Riley, didn't have experience as an NBA head coach either. It is very possible to get a young person out there and be mentored. I think Pop needs to be mentoring the next coach more than he does need to be mentoring Wemby, or maybe equal amounts. Chris Layhouse saying that my voice cracked when I was talking about it because I'm a Spurs fan.
No, he said your voice cracked because you lied.
No, my voice. Oh, no, because I said that he lied. Because I said that he lied. Matt Lerma saying you're drunk, go home. Well, Matt Lerma will be a Popovich apologist from here until eternity. I kind of get a feeling that if the Spurs have 5 more losing records in a row and 10 more in a row, he'd be there like that guy in Three Amigos. I'm still here with you, El Guapo. He'll be that guy. But no, I'm done. 5 losing seasons in a row. It's been 10 years since the last title. It's time to move on. He lied. He said, I'm going to be coach of this team until Tim, Tony, and Monty retire. And they all retired, and the 5-year span went by, and they all went into the Hall of Fame, and their jerseys were lifted the banners, and then they added the Hall of Fame thing on there, and then Pop was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and dude is still around.
Is it fair to say he lied? Like, I mean, he did say it, but then there was things that happened in his life, and I think he's a human too. At the end of the day,
I think that has a lot to do with that. His wife passed away. I've never brought that up as a reason, and there is something to be said about that because empty nester, that type of thing. But I never wanted to go there. But that is true. That is true.
One thing that we forgot to do
for that though, like it's not something that's like. I don't think he should be faulted for that, for wanting to continue to go, and this is what helps him get through the day. Like, and if he's still coaching now, I appreciate Coach Pop, and I think, like I said, I'm on team whenever he's ready to go, he can. But I do also can see the point where they've had 5 losing seasons in a row. And if he is still a coach, he should take a backseat to the new coach and train them to be a championship caliber coach. So I see both sides. Talking
to Carolina Teague of A League of Her Own podcast. We were not having this as a conversation piece for today, but it just kind of went there. Yeah. But this is what happens when the conversation starts with who would you rather have, Julian Champagny or Keldon Johnson? Neither.
But I was going to say one thing that we forgot to do today is we forgot to give a shout out to James Pledger. It's his birthday.
James Pledger, yeah, had his was at his birthday party over the weekend, and Jeff Garcia was already roasting me.
He said you no-showed
that I was gonna no-show. Right now, I actually had family in town because I had family in town from California that came to watch the eclipse. So they flew all the way over here. They spent money to go watch Bill Nye the Science Guy and take part in his whole thing in Fredericksburg. And don't get me wrong, they're well off, so they'll be fine. But they enjoyed it, and so we did the San Antonio Mexican thing. We took them to Mi Tierra, right? Went out there, had some food. By the time I was done with all that, made my way over to the Rue Pub. It was already 11 o'clock. So I did show up over there. I was with Pledger for 2 hours. Happy birthday to my brother, James Pledger. I love you, my man. You're a good man. I can trust you completely. And I'll never forget the first time I met him. I was doing my Rock the Mic audition, and I didn't know if I had done good or bad. It was the last day to audition. I showed up and I thought, well, I'll watch other people do their audition and then I'll, just go from there. But I was the second person called, so I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I needed. And they just basically said, do a 1 minute long sports take and go. And I did a sports take in about 1 minute. And I looked at Pledger and I was like, I'd never met him before. And I said, how did I do? And he goes, I've heard worse.
No, man.
His first words to me were, I've heard a lot worse. So, but Pledger's a great man. He was on our show last week. He's amped up because his Houston Texans are making moves. I know Carolina Teague is amped up because her Bears are doing something for Caleb Williams that they never did for Justin Fields, which is put a team around him. But Carolina.
What bothers me about that real quick is that I don't even want to go on a Bears rant because this isn't this is Alamo City Sportscast, not the Bears City Sportscast. Yeah. I just feel like them getting rid of, I just feel like the Bears they did the same thing with Mitchell Trubisky, and they did the same thing with Justin Fields. They fired the coach after their rookie season, and both of these quarterbacks had to learn a brand new offense. If Eberflus is the problem, which I in fact think that he is, even though they gutted the entire offensive coordinating staff of last year, and something goes wrong and they have to fire Eberflus, he's going to be in the same exact position as Justin Fields. He's going to be in the same exact position as Mitchell Trubisky. You're having to have him learn a new offense after your rookie season, and it's detrimental and makes them look bad. That's why they say the Bears have a quarterback problem, because they don't build around it. They don't build around the coaching staff too. So all I'm going to say in regards to that is, yeah, they are building a team around him, but they better make sure that they have that coaching correct, because then it'll just be back to square one again. And I'm not looking forward to that.
That is Carolina Teague. You can follow her on Twitter at CT the Mike Slayer. Let's go to do some entertainment real fast.
Okay, let's see if I can get the entertainment.
Let's get the bump. We can go without the bump, but if you want to get the bump, we can.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen.
I'll find it. Here it is.
And if you can show my screen, we're going to show you the photo. A mugshot of Morgan Wallen, the country star, arrested on 3 felony counts over the weekend, arrested Sunday night in Nashville, accused of throwing a chair off a rooftop bar several stories down. I believe it was 6 stories down. It came crashing down, did not hit anybody, did not hurt anybody. But the fact of the matter is that he's accused of hurling this chair several feet down to the ground. There's photos on TMZ.com, not only of his grinning mugshot, looking like a douchebag right there, but also of the scene and him being taken into custody as well. Goes on to say that he was booked Sunday night on 3 felony counts of reckless endangerment and 1 misdemeanor of disorderly conduct. He was released after posting a bond of $15,000. It fell 6 stories. So this was the rooftop bar that he was at. And again, he was accused of throwing it out. There is apparently video of this being done and photos and a bunch of people coming out and saying, yep, that was him. He was the one who did it. But again, Morgan Wallen arrested over the weekend. And dude, can you imagine if that chair had hit somebody?
Could have killed him, man.
Could have killed somebody. And it wasn't like a little folding chair.
No.
It was like a deck chair.
Yeah.
that he threw out there.
I mean, can you
Allegedly.
imagine? What if he would have hit a mom and a kid or something like that on the street, dude?
And this was on Broadway Street.
Yeah.
So
dude,
for those of you who don't know what Broadway Street is in Nashville, that is the equivalent of 6th Street. Imagine somebody on 6th Street, because I've gone to 6th Street before, and you see those bars that are 2 and 3 stories tall. Now add 3 more stories. Now add somebody hurling a chair off of that into the crowd. That's what would have happened. What could have happened. That's the equivalent of what allegedly happened in Nashville. But Morgan Wallen going to be in trouble. He's gonna face a little bit of time. I'm not saying that he's gonna spend like years in jail, but he's got to at least spend a week, man. At least a week in the Nashville jail. That's all I'm calling for at this point. What are your thoughts, CT?
That's really dangerous. Like, who throws a chair over several stories? Somebody could die because of that. I know it sounds crazy, but they could be seriously injured or they could pass away. I can understand why I want to know what the chair did to him. What the hell did the chair do to you for you to throw it over the roof? That's what I want to know. That's the main thing. What the hell did the chair do to you, bro, for you to throw it over the rooftop?
And in fact, there's video of this being flung. TMZ gets everything. He just chunked it down, dude. He just chunked it down. Hand of a fist saying first timer, probably going to get a long probation. Or you can just make an example out of him. That's what I would do, throw the book at him. And if the guy is smiling in the mugshot, put that into evidence. He didn't give 2 craps about it all.
There's nothing wrong with saying in mugshots, okay? And I'm saying that because I've been down that road before. All right. When we smile in our mugshots, that just means we're just like, we go just roll with the punches. Whatever happens.
You try to get all that Twitter account that has the hot mugshots. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I ain't that pretty.
Remember that dude who was like he was kind of like biracial. They had green eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Modeling job out of it.
Yeah, and he ended up. I think he ended up doing some shady stuff too. And yeah, he was.
Of course, he was doing shady stuff. He was. He's
a criminal. Yeah, you're right.
I think he was like attempted murder or something like that.
Yeah,
like he was not a good dude.
I don't know, attempted murder, all that stuff. And one of the guys said on the comments, hey, you could kill anybody by doing anything, So I'm just bringing it up. Throwing a chair over the rooftop it could hurt somebody. That's all I'm saying.
One thing that we haven't talked about that's entertainment news is we haven't talked about the weekend of WrestleMania. WrestleMania is a huge how to do in the wrestling world. It's the Super Bowl of wrestling, and they have it. It's so big, it can't be contained in one night. Has to be 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. They had a lot of fan favorites come out, a big how to do. I, for one, was watching, pleasantly surprised when I got to see The Rock and Cody Rhodes go at it, and it was fun. It was fun for me, even though I knew what the outcome was going to be. Then you go to Sunday, which is night 2. Night 2 to me was a lot better. And it was the crowning achievement for night 2 was Cody Rhodes finishing his story, and I liked it, man. I thought it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I know that Chris Leha, Sith, and everybody else, they had a Twitter Spaces to kind of talk about WrestleMania and whatnot. And I helped them out with that as well, and it was a lot of fun.
I will support Teague with RCW and all the things that are local in nature, and I will go to the events when they're in town from time to time. Like I went to Raw is War, whatever they call that. So I've done that. But to spend a weekend doing WrestleMania, I'd rather watch Big Trouble in Little China 12 times.
What? You need to get more into wrestling. That's my goal this year. I need to get you more into wrestling. Like next year, I want to go to WrestleMania.
Look at this. I love this comment from Swiss. Mike won't watch WrestleMania, but he'll watch Grey's Anatomy.
You have to go to WrestleMania. Like, it just looks like it's so much fun. That's my goal next year is have enough money, go to WrestleMania, have a good time. It just looks like so much fun. And honestly, like day 2 when Cody went over on Roman, I went through every single emotion. They brought
they had the Undertaker. You had John Cena come out. I'm like, come on.
The spectacle is great to watch in person. I'm not going to deny that it's entertaining in person. It's the watching it on TV that I don't understand.
Oh man, it's better on TV.
It's like a soap opera. It's like a sports soap opera. That's how you got to look at it. Look at the storylines. People, they kind of rag on wrestling, not you, but some people are like, yo, like they already know the outcome. Yeah, but so do you when you watch a series on Netflix. So if you look at it from like a storyline perspective and you fall in love with your character, I'm a Cody crybaby 100%. And like there's some people like there's other people, I don't know who Sith is a fan of, but I know they've talked about who they're huge fans of. Like, you pick your character and you wish them the best. That's all. That's what the advice I would give you, Jimenez. Find someone you really, really like in WWE.
Identify with.
You
identify with the villain.
I identify with the Von Erichs,
the villain,
and all but one died. That was the difficult part of it all. By the way, Hector Ledesma on Twitter is posting a video of you announcing a boxing match the other day. It was
commentating.
Doing the commentating. Very, very nice. How was that, by the way?
It was a lot of fun. I was very nervous, but I have been practicing commentary with at the Hybrid School of Wrestling, and I've been taking a lot of notes from the Reality of Wrestling, which I'll be there this Saturday. That's Booker T's promotion. It's this Saturday in Houston. I'm sorry. And I've been taking a lot of notes, like very, very detailed. So basically, I kind of just applied what I've learned from a wrestling perspective into boxing, because I'm a fan of both boxing and wrestling. If you guys don't know, the way I got my name established originally in San Antonio was that's how I won Rock the Mic. I talked about boxing. That's how I got past the first round. I talked about Floyd Mayweather. And then I started doing boxing around San Antonio. I talked to a lot of local promotions. I am friends with a lot of promoters in the city, been to their houses. They're all great people. So boxing is something that I've grown up on. I love it so much, and just combat sports in general. So it was really nerve-wracking because Jesse James Leija is a world champion, and not just like a regular world champion. He's a 2-time world champion, and he's a San Antonio world champion. So I'm not going to even front. I'm like, yo, this is my first time doing commentary for boxing, and Jesse James Leija is 2 seats down. What if I say the wrong thing? And then Jesse like looks at me sideways, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But lucky for me, there were lots of, and Hector is amazing, by the way. He was able to like, he's great at what he does. Truly, like, he is fantastic. So there were moments where I would say things and Jesse would actually agree with me. So I was like, oh, he agrees with me.
That means awesome.
Right.
He's such a nice guy, by the way. Mike Ayala, by the way, great comment. A little bit further up north over there. Mike Ayala says, "I stopped caring about wrestling when I was 12 and went through puberty." I will second that motion. Let's talk about the baddie brackets, because we're down to 8, and we'll wrap up the show with some baddie bracket talk. 2 1 seeds got eliminated from the baddie bracket. So again, what are we doing? We're trying to crown 2024's ultimate baddie. Okay, it's what they look like now, how they look like now, not what they were back in 1995 or 1985 or whatnot. It's basically today, right? And we started out with 64. We've gone down to 32. We went down to 16, and they're pods of 4, and the top 2 keep advancing, and we're going to get down to a single elimination once we get to the final 4. Now, in the first 2 rounds, I reseeded these ladies because based on how they performed. Trish Stratus, who was a 1 seed because she overwhelmingly did well in her bracket, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen, we all know and love her from 90210 and from Saved by the Bell back in the day, Kelly Kapowski, both eliminated right away in the Sweet 16. The most impressive thing about them, the most surprising thing about it, and this is where MCS General Contracting, Chris Leija, is going to get mad, is that in one pod, we had Sydney Sweeney and Salma Hayek going at each other. And Sydney Sweeney got more votes than Salma Hayek in the city of San Antonio. So we're down to 8. And I'm going to tell you the pods that are going to come out of it, right? So here is who is left and who is in who's going up against each other. In the next pod, we're going to have Sydney Sweeney and Shakira, along with Ana de Armas and Dua Lipa. In the next pod, it's going to be Paige Spironic, Scarlett Johansson, Salma Hayek, and Jessica Alba. It is getting down to the nitty-gritty right now. So first question I have for you, CT. what are your thoughts on our poll participants choosing Sydney Sweeney over Salma Hayek in the Sweet 16?
They're tweaking. They're tweaking right now. I don't know why anybody would. I mean, that's my number one. Sydney's beautiful too. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking at her right now. Damn, she's really pretty. But y'all say y'all's fans have a certain type. So I already know that Selma probably wasn't gonna make it, but Sydney is really beautiful too. I'm just looking at her pic. She's gorgeous.
Tim Gonzalez reaches out and says, "My tribal queen Carolina Teague would dominate all those ladies." I like it. Now, Chris Layhouse says, "Nah, I'm mad that you cheated Yannick Garcia." So here's the thing. Let me kind of backtrack. This is where I begin the conversation with what happened was. So it was getting down to the point. These were supposed to be 14-hour polls. I accidentally set that one for 24 hours. So I was going to cut it off, right? So I cut it off, and I looked at the poll numbers, and again, the top two advance. Yannick Garcia and Dua Lipa were tied. And I made the reference of, well, if it's a tie, then I'm going to go ahead and just take Dua Lipa because Dua Lipa does not have an OnlyFans. And that was kind of a sticking point because a lot of people got mad because I said no OnlyFans girls out there. But then again, we made mention that Paige Sporonic does not get naked in her OnlyFans, and Yannick Garcia was famous before OnlyFans. So I kind of like bent the rules a little bit for them. But the thing about it is that as I was posting that, I noticed that there was another vote taken, and Dua Lipa actually took the lead. And I said, okay, that was a tiebreaker. We're done. Dua Lipa advances. Yannick Garcia, her big booty from Mexico, goes home. Okay. So what we're down with right now, Carolina, is we're down to 8 ladies. And our viewers, our listeners have a type. They like the Latina hotties. And they like big-chested white girls. Okay. The only oddball, the one that's not like the other, is Dua Lipa, who just seems to get second place every time she gets out there in the poll. Again, the top two always advance. She seems to always be second. So she survives and advances every round. Dua Lipa, who is out of all those 8, so I'm going to name them one more time.
Okay.
Sydney Sweeney, Shakira, Ana de Armas, Dua Lipa in one pod. Paige Sporonic, Scarlett Johansson, Salma Hayek, Jessica Alba in the other. Who do you think is one that might be a surprise sleeper pick that might advance to the final 4 that we're not expecting? Okay, I'm going to give you those names again. Give me the ones that you think are definitely going to go. So in one pod, Sydney Sweeney, Shakira, Ana de Armas, Dua Lipa. Who are the 2 that are going to go that you think?
Shakira and Sydney Sweeney.
Okay. Paige Sporonic, Scarlett Johansson, Salma Hayek, Jessica Alba.
Salma, Paige.
Okay. So there's 4 that you didn't name.
Okay.
And I believe that those 4 are probably the favorites. But out of the 4 that you did not name, Scarlett Johansson, Jessica Alba, Dua Lipa, Ana de Armas, which of the 4 is most likely to make a surprise appearance in the final 4?
Ana de Armas. Oh,
she's
okay.
A ball girl.
I'm going to go ahead and say Dua Lipa.
You think Dua Lipa has a chance? Now, here's the thing. Jesse reaches out to us and says, didn't Salma get bounced? No, because she advanced, but she got moved to a 2 seed because in each bracket, the top 2 of the poll advanced. So she advanced, but Sydney Sweeney put her on notice. Sydney Sweeney was like, you ain't going to run away with this, because people thought that Salma Hayek was going to be like by far the winner. But then there's Paige Sporonic. I mean, it's Paige.
I think might take Paige or Sydney. It might boil down to those 2, Paige, Sydney, or Salma. I think those are the top 3 that are probably going to end up on the top.
Joe Gonzalez reaches out and says, Dua Lipa is all fundamentals, MJ. Nothing too fancy. She just puts up numbers. Is she the Tim Duncan of this? Is she the big fundamental on this?
Oh, man.
Is
Dua Lipa is all fundamentals.
Is Dua Lipa like a surprise?
I think so. I think Joe has a really good point.
Like
it's all fundamentals. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
that's a really good take.
And you said she's getting better at dancing, Mike.
She is getting better at dancing. She's Albanian, so she's got a little ethnic in her, Albanian. She's not she's from England, but she's not British. She's Albanian, that's Mediterranean type, darker olive skin, If Dua Lipa walked into any bar in San Antonio, she would be everyone would love her. Every guy would love her. Every woman would hate her.
Yeah. I don't know, but okay. Did y'all see the there's Charles Barkley's in here saying San Antonio women are ugly. So I was like, San Antonio women, we're all beautiful, okay? I'm just messing with him. I'm messing with Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
I'm just messing with him. But yeah, I think San Antonio women are really beautiful too. I mean, if I had to pick a San Antonio woman, I'd put in the baddie bracket. I would put Isis Romero from y'all remember her?
Yeah. She's on Ken's 5.
She's on Ken's 5.
I would put her on the baddies bracket. It would be Isis Romero.
Look at Matt Lerma. Look at what he says. I'll admit and nothing wrong with that, man.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
So Chris Lahout's going to go after him. See, there are people who vote for her. Okay, there are people who vote for her. Mike Ayala says Paige doesn't even deserve to be in that list.
Oh God.
John says milk dud head. Who is a milk dud head?
I don't know, but milk duds are delicious. Or as Kramer would say on Seinfeld, they're refreshing.
Refreshing.
Oh no! It wasn't a milk dud. It was
York.
It was a Thin Mints or
whatever.
Oh,
the Thin Mints.
Those are good too.
I was watching Seinfeld this morning. Had nothing better to do. I watched the episode where Costanza gets a massage from a dude, and it moved.
Jeez, man.
Hanover Fist says telling essay they look like a news reporter is actually a pickup line for me. That's actually a smart pickup line. That's hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah, I couldn't do a baddie bracket local because I know a lot of these.
It's too offensive. Yeah, it's too offensive.
We're in the same circles.
And I wouldn't say do a baddie bracket and pin them against each other. I just think there should be an
appreciation.
Not in particular order, but a top 10 list. I think that would be good, but
okay, just name them, but don't
just name them, don't rank them, and I think you'd be safe. Name them, don't rank them, and whatever. But for me, I put Isis Romero. She would be definitely, for me, I would have her on there for sure. So I think she's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stay out of this conversation because it'll get back to me. Not only do I know...
it'll get back to you. Yeah. I think I think pretty much all the girls on TV here locally are beautiful. So it's no biggie.
And what I like are the ones that have been around for a long, long time. There have been some, like Ursula Perry is
Michelle Beadle.
Deborah Knapp. She's really nice.
Deborah Knapp is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
She's really nice.
Stephanie Serna from KSAT has been around for a long, long time. So there's a lot of very beautiful women here in San Antonio. That is true. Okay, that is true. But we're going to continue the baddie brackets tonight. We're going to get down to the final 4 by tomorrow. I'm super excited about that. Will Dua Lipa make that leap? Dude, when it gets down to it, we're gonna get one-on-one when it comes to these final 4, right? Like Paige Spiranac against Sydney Sweeney, or Ana de Armas against Salma Hayek. That's gonna be interesting. Where do the San Antonio loyalties lie? And if I was to ask you a question real fast before I let you go, because the show's about to wrap up, if we were to go to those 4 quads right there, Sydney Sweeney, Shakira, Ana de Armas, Dua Lipa, who's your vote going for?
Sydney Sweeney.
Paige Spiranac, Scarlett Johansson, Salma Hayek, Jessica Alba.
Salma Hayek. I'm sticking with my first pick.
I have always thought from the get-go, and I made the announcement back in the day, that the final would be Salma Hayek against Sydney Sweeney. And it's looking more... You know what this is like? I mean, it's looking like it was destined for Caitlin Clark to go up against South Carolina. It just feels destined to happen. We just had to go through the round of 64, 32, and Sweet 16 to make it happen. But
make the stallion born an essay. I'm dead. I'm dead because her friend Kelsey did a diss to her. because she always says she's an H-Town hottie, and then her best friend Kelsey did a diss track on her, and she was like, "I thought somebody from Bexar County said something. You was born in Bexar County." So that's why he's saying that, because it's like, because she exposed that she was born in Bexar County, so it's funny.
Hey, Michelle Rodriguez was also born in San Antonio. So.
No way! From Fast and Furious?
Fast and Furious, yeah, born in San Antonio.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I'm looking at a list right now of famous people born in San Antonio. Most famous person born in San Antonio, according to this list, according to imdb.com, is Carol Burnett.
Oh, yeah? She was born here.
There's an actress named Summer Glau, who they have as number 2. She was on Angel, Firefly, and Serenity. She was also on Terminator, the Sarah Connor's Chronicle. Number 3, they have Michelle Rodriguez from Furious 7, born 1978 in San Antonio, Texas. They have listed on here a Gil Birmingham. Oh, I didn't know he was from San Antonio. Gil Birmingham from Yellowstone. Madison Davenport, never heard of her. Steve Howry from Bride Warriors. James Roday, who went to high school with my former brother-in-law. Joan Crawford. Wow, did not know that. Henry Thomas, Jared Padalecki, Robert Rodriguez. We got some names here.
So
Noelle Wells is a comedian, actress.
Jimenez, I was actually trying to Google the list you're reading down right now. So I Googled San Antonio women.
Yeah.
And the first thing that popped up, I thought a San Antonio woman would pop up. It says a Reddit thread, and it says, "Was Charles Barkley right about the women of San Antonio?" I'm like, dang, like we cannot escape that comment from Charles Barkley. It's so funny.
I mean,
it's the most popular thing. It's the most viral thing that ever happened with San Antonio women. But yeah, no, the list you gave, I was like, okay, I was trying to see who was born in San Antonio. But
well, you know what is coming up, right? Fiesta. Fiesta can be coming up, and our friend from Chunkle Academy had put up a graphic, and it was showing the Sucias feet from Fiesta. The black.
I mean, San Antonio, we are overweight as a city. So Charles Barkley isn't wrong, but it's just he's gotten a lot of run with it because he'll bring it up again, and then he'll make a line like the churro line. He goes, "Dude, I had a churro for the first time. It's amazing. Now I understand why those women are so big." That was funny, dude. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh no, it was worse when he grabbed the churros. Yeah. Like this, and he was double fisting, and they kept telling him, "Do it again." And he didn't understand what.
He's still convinced a San Antonio woman broke his damn heart. That is what I think happened.
While he was at Cole High School.
Wait, what?
While he was at Cole High School.
Maybe. We don't know.
From San Antonio. You know what? But you know what? He was around San Antonio women for so long because he lived here. So maybe he has some point of reference. He was out by Fort Sam Houston.
I think he got with a girl in San Antonio. He had feelings for her. He caught feelings for her. She broke his heart. And ever since then, he just had this like chip on his shoulder and this spite. And every San Antonio woman that would walk by, he'd be really judgmental of them. And then one day he was just so angry, it just came out on air. And I think that's what happened.
Speaking of breaking hearts, John reaches out to us and says, Jessica Alba is the girl you bring home to meet mom. Sydney Sweeney is the girl mom warns you about. Mm-hmm. Real fast, Spurs back in action tonight. They take on the Memphis Grizzlies. Right now, Spurs are favored, even though we're on the road. Spurs are favored by 4.5 points. Lots of injuries with the Grizzlies right now. Wemby averaging 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists on the season, along with 3 blocks. Could this be the day that Wemby goes for a quadruple double? I'm going to mark it down right now. He plays tonight. Wemby gets a triple double. Book it. Book it. They're favored to win by 4.5. And if they do win, that would be win number 20. Again, the worst record the Spurs have ever had in franchise history is 20 wins in a season.
Yeah.
This would at least get them to 20. But again, Spurs favored by 4.5 tonight. Spurs have 4 games left to go in the regular season. Only 9 wins on the road this year, but the Spurs have 4 games. They have on the road against the Grizzlies, on the road against the Thunder, home against the Nuggets, and home against the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah. Speaking of home, it's time for us to say goodbye to CT. She's got to get going for today, but thank you for joining the show.
Carolina, one last thing before I let you go. Your hair looks amazing.
Thank you so much. I actually just This is how I woke up. I was gonna say I really love you guys. Tonight I'll have Tuesday. Well, not Tuesdays with Tea. What the hell's my show called? League of Our Own tonight is my podcast. I'll be on League of Our Own tonight. I love you guys so much. And I'm so sorry I didn't mean to make you guys uncomfortable earlier. I just want to say I have love and respect for everybody, and I want to see everybody win. So I will see you guys later. League of Our Own's tonight, and I'm going to be at Mission Pro on 420. I won't be at River City Wrestling. I will be at Mission Pro. I am the general manager there at Mission Pro Wrestling, and I might have some drama with Thunder Rosa and Tiffany Nieves right now. So that's kind of what's going on with us. But hopefully you guys can show up to Mission Pro Wrestling. Get your tickets, www.missionprowrestling.com.
That's very cool. That is Carolina Teague, CT the Mike Slayer, also affectionately known as the queen of the Alamo City Sportscast. Thank you for being with us today. Joe,
Thank you. I
have a big day ahead of me. I am going to go meet some clients in Corpus Christi. So I'm on the road right now. So I've got... let's see, it's 144 miles one way, so I'm doing that twice. So I've got about 300 miles if you include the drive from downtown back home.
About 7 hours, 6 hours of driving.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
I'm also on the hunt for an administrative assistant.
Yeah, you're going to need some help, man. You can't do it all by yourself.
Dude, I'm tired of paperwork, man. I'm tired of it all.
You need somebody to get everything like organized for you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I love doing what I do because I manage people's money, but it's the customer service aspect of it all, like changing the forms and things like that. That it just gets me going. Like right now, what am I going to do after this? I'm going to go get 2 signatures down the street from one client and then another client.
Yeah. And
none of that makes me any money. It's just service.
Yeah.
And like the service side of things, I really need help with. So I put that out on social media, and I already got like 12 resumes to go through, so we shall see.
Hopefully you find the right one.
That's right. Well, my name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. Let's cheer for the Spurs to get their 20th win tonight. Oh, but if they do, they fall out of the bottom 3 in the draft. So whatever happens, happens. Again, Mike Jimenez, Joe Garcia. This is the Alamo City Sportscast. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out the door and share what we do. See you guys tomorrow.